The stars outside the glass cage were bright, but the world inside was dark. Jace Rennick sat quietly in his prison cell. Cold steel walls surrounded him. The air smelled like rust, oil, and old blood. The guards had taken everything from him. His clothes, his pride, his planet. All he had left were his fists, his memories, and his will. He was human, and that meant here on Vrak Prime. He was a slave. Vrak Prime was not just a prison planet. It was a place for sport, for death. For entertainment, the alien race known as the Jurex Dominion controlled it. They were tall, armored, proud, and cruel. To them, humans were nothing more than tools, pets, or playthings. Jace had been a soldier once. He fought in the resistance back on Earth before the Jurex crushed it with plasma storms and orbital cannons. He saw his city burn, his family disappear, and the blue sky turn to red. That was 10 years ago. Since then, he had survived, barely as a fighter in alien arenas, but he had never forgotten who he was. Today, something was different. There was more noise than usual. The guards seemed nervous. The other fighters avoided eye contact with Jace. When he asked why, no one spoke. Then the answer arrived. The metal gates opened with a loud hiss. A group of Jurex soldiers marched in. Behind them walked a tall female figure in shining black armor. Her steps were slow and graceful, but her presence filled the room with pressure. She was Varna Sakor, a warrior noble of the Zarix feared across 5 galaxies. Her name meant death in 2 languages. She stopped in front of Jace's cell. Her yellow eyes narrowed as she looked down at him. "So this is the human they call Iron Ghost?" she said in a sharp voice. Smaller than I expected. Jace stood up, meeting her gaze without fear. "I get that a lot," he replied simply. Without warning, Varnessa leaned closer, then spat on his face. "You are nothing but a slave," she said coldly. "A worm wearing skin. Yet they pair. You with me in the grand trials? Disgusting." Jace wiped his cheeks slowly and stared at her. "Be careful," he said. "Sometimes worms bite." She laughed, a cruel, echoing sound. Then she turned and walked away. The guards unlocked his cell. "Get ready, human," one of them barked. "Your match begins in an hour." The arena of Vrak Prime was massive, a circle of metal and stone, surrounded by roaring crowds from many planets. Cameras floated in the air, recording every move for billions to watch across the galaxy. In the center of the arena, Jace stood. Alone, he wore light armor made for slaves, nothing more than scraps of plating and a thin energy shield. In his hands, he held 2 dull plasma knives, not strong enough to cut Jurex armor unless used very carefully. Across from him, Varnessa entered like a storm. Her armor gleamed under the arena lights. Her weapon was a long, curved blade made from living metal. It hissed as it moved. She raised her arms and shouted, "Let all who watch know. This is the fate of those who defy the Dominion." The crowd cheered. A wall of sound rose. A voice echoed in the air. "Combat will begin in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Jace lowered his eyes. He breathed in now. The crowd roared as the countdown ended. Jace Rennick stood still, his eyes locked on Varnessa. She smiled, showing sharp silver teeth. Her armor shifted slightly, adapting to her movement. Her living blade hummed as it came to life. She took the first step. Jace didn't move. "You're frozen already?" Varnessa shouted, laughing. "Pathetic." She swung her blade fast, but not too fast. She wasn't trying to win quickly. She was playing with him. The crowd loved it. Many were already placing bets, not on who would win, but on how long Jace would survive. 10 seconds passed. Jace ducked her first swing, rolled to the side, and stayed low. He didn't attack. Not yet. He was watching, calculating, looking. For a weak spot in her armor, her chest plate was thick, so were her arms and legs. But the back of her neck, where the helmet joined the spine, was open for cooling. A small target. 1 shot. That's all he would get. 15 seconds? You run well, little human? She shouted, "Is that your great skill?" Running. It lunged forward, fast now. Her blade sliced the air near his face. He jumped back just in time, landing hard but balanced. His knives were still in his hands, but he didn't swing. Not yet. 20 seconds. She roared and came again. Left, right, up, fast combos. He dodged all of them. The crowd started to notice. He was not hitting, but he was not being hit either. He was reading her moves like a book. Her eyes narrowed. She was no longer smiling. 25 seconds? Jace saw his opening. She raised her arm high to bring down her blade. That left her side exposed. Just for a moment. Jace slid in low, past her guard, and slashed behind her knee joint. Sparks flew. Her leg buckled slightly. She screamed. He jumped to her back, drove one of his knives into her shoulder joint. Armor cracked. He twisted hard. 20-8 seconds. She stumbled, turning wildly. He leaped off, rolled, then jumped up behind her. His other knife struck exactly at the base of her neck where the cooling vents were. A burst of sparks exploded. Her armor froze. 30 seconds. Varnessa fell to her knees. Her arms wouldn't move. Her systems had shut down. The crowd was silent. No one expected this. Jace walked toward her slowly. His armor was scratched. His face was sweating. But he was standing tall. She looked up at him, her eyes wide with disbelief. "How?" she whispered. JCE leaned closer. "You should have finished." He said quietly. "Instead, you showed off." She tried to speak, but her armor locked completely. The living metal was shutting down, protecting her from further damage. A voice echoed in the arena. "Victory, Jace Rennick. Human gladiator." The silence broke. The crowd screamed not in joy, but in shock. Some cheered, some shouted in anger. Others sat in silence, stunned. Jace stood in the center of the arena, breathing hard, but he didn't smile. He didn't raise his hands. He simply turned and walked away. Back in the preparation chamber, the guards didn't say a word as he returned. Some stared at him with fear. Others avoided his eyes. Jace sat down on the bench. His hands were still shaking. Looked at the knife. The blade was dull and cracked. He had won. He had done what no one believed possible. Human had defeated a Jerax noble in front of billions. Across the stars, in hidden corners of the galaxy, humans watched. On mining colonies, inside research, labs, and small dirty rooms, they saw the broadcast. Many cried. Some shouted with joy. Others just stared. A little girl on a farming moon pointed at the screen and said, "Mama, he looks like us." On an old warship drifting near Saturn, an ex-soldier whispered, "He's one of ours." The fire that had died in many human hearts began to burn again. In a grand palace on the Jerax homeworld, leaders gathered. A large screen replayed the fight again and again. Each time they grew more silent. "This cannot be allowed to continue," one of them growled. "He must be." "Silenced," said another, before others get ideas. But one voice, an old general, spoke calmly. "You all watched the same thing I did," he said. "The human did not just fight. He planned. He waited. He studied her. That is not luck. That is intelligence." "Then what do we do?" General looked out the window, toward the stars. "We prepare," he said, "because I fear." This is only the beginning. The video of Jace Rennick defeating Varnessa spread like wildfire across the stars. The Jerax Dominion tried to delete it. They blocked channels, erased files, and punished those who shared it. But it was too late. The image of a human standing over a defeated Jerax warrior had already reached millions. It was more than just a victory. It was a message. On a mining colony near the edge of the galaxy, an old man sat with his grandson. They worked all day, breaking rocks for the Dominion. Life was hard and empty. That night someone passed them a small HOLO-chip. The boy placed it in the player. A screen appeared, showing Jace in the arena. They watched him dodge, strike, and win in just 30 seconds. The boy looked at his grandfather. "He's human, like us." The old man nodded slowly, tears in his eyes. "Yes, he is." Dice sat alone in his cell. Days had passed since the fight, but he hadn't been called to battle again. The guards avoided him now. They didn't beat him. They didn't insult him. They feared him for the first time in years. Chase felt something new, a small sense of power, but with power came danger. One night a secret message reached his cell. A piece of bread, slightly burned, arrived with his meal. On the bottom, drawn with ash, was a symbol, the old Earth resistance mark. He stared at it for a long time. Someone was watching. Someone still remembered. The next morning, the guards brought him to a different place, not the arena, not the training ground, but a dark underground hall. Inside were other humans, all fighters like him. Some were young, some old, some injured. All were survivors. A woman stepped forward. She had a sharp face, strong shoulders, and a deep scar across her forehead. "I'm Commander Rhea Tran," she said. "Former resistance." "You don't know me, but I know you." Jace looked around. "This isn't a fight, is it?" "No," she said. "It's a meeting." Rhea explained everything. For years, humans had tried to organize inside the arenas, but it was hard. Guards listened. Fighters were killed or separated. But now, after Jace's victory, something had changed. Humans had hope again, and hope was dangerous to the Dominion. "We've been watching you," she said. "We saw how you fought. Not just with strength, with skill, patience, and planning. We think you can help lead." Jace shook his head. "I'm no leader. I just survive."
Oh.
"You did more than survive." Rhea said. "You made them believe. Not just the ones here, the ones out there. Across the stars." She pointed to a small screen in the corner. Silent video played. Jace's fight again and again. "Do you want that to mean something?" she asked. Jace looked at the screen. "Yes," he said softly. "I do." Over the next few days, Jace met with more fighters. They shared stories, battle scars, and quiet dreams. He learned that many humans in the arenas were ready to fight back, but they needed a plan, Jace remembered. His old training. Back on Earth, he had studied guerrilla warfare, sabotage, and infiltration. "We don't need to beat them all at once," he said. "We just need to make them bleed." The fighters listened closely. "We'll use the arena," Jace said. "We'll turn it into a training ground. We'll teach each other. We'll watch each other, build a team." "And when?" Rhea asked. "When the time is right," Jace said. "We'll break the chains." Meanwhile, Varnasakar sat in her private healing chamber. Her armor had been damaged, her honor even more so. The Jurex Council had removed her from the elite warrior circle. She was no longer a hero. She was a failure. She watched the video of her defeat again and again. Every time, her hands shook with rage. "How did I lose?" she whispered. But deep down she knew the answer. She had underestimated him. She had thought of him as a slave. But Jace was more than that. He was something they didn't understand. A fighter with nothing to lose and everything to remember. She stood up. Even though her legs still hurt, "I will face him again," she said to herself. "And next time, I will not show mercy." In a secret part of the arena base, Jace trained his group. He showed them how to fight in teams, how to strike fast, hide well, and hit where it hurts the most. He taught them how to think like soldiers. Again, every day more humans joined. Some were afraid. Some were angry. Some were quiet and broken. But Jace told them the same thing. "You are not slaves. Not anymore." He knew the time was coming. The Dominion wouldn't wait forever. It would try to break him, silence him, or use him. So he planned something. Bigger. "We don't just fight," he told Rhea. "We escape. Burn the arena. We send a message that the galaxy can't ignore." In the cold dark of space, a human-made signal blinked once. Then again, it was old code. A message from the resistance. It had been silent for years. Now it was awake. The message was simple. The ghost is alive. Prepare to rise. Jace Rennick stood in the shadows of the underground hall, watching the new fighters arrive. There were over 100 of them. Now humans from different parts of the galaxy. Some were born on Earth, others on Mars or Titan. A few had never even seen Earth. They were born in prison camps and mines, or on colony ships taken by the Jurex. But they all had one thing in common. They were ready to fight every day. Jace trained them in silence. They couldn't make noise. The Jarrek's guards still watched, still listened. But the arena had blind spots. Empty storage rooms, old tunnels, places where no one looked anymore. That's where Jace built his army. He called them the Unchained. They didn't have weapons yet, not real ones. But Jace taught them how to use anything. Metal rods, broken chains, training gear. He even showed them how to overload power cells and make them explode. Use what they give you, he said, and turn it against them. Rhea, the former resistance officer, helped lead the women's group. She trained the younger ones in stealth, sabotage, and communications. No war is won by strength alone, she told them. You need information, timing, and silence. In the arena halls, a new figure watched the cameras closely. His name was Commander Vrex. He was a high-ranking Jorix officer sent to Vrak Prime after Jace's victory. His job, to study the humans and report any signs of rebellion. He was not cruel like others. He was cold, smart, and dangerous. These humans are learning, he said, watching the training footage. They move faster, fight better. They work. In groups now, his assistant asked. Should we separate them? No, Rex said. Let them believe they are free. It's easier to control hope before it becomes belief. But what Rex didn't understand was hope had already become belief. And belief was now turning into action. One night, Jace called a secret meeting. The leaders of each human group sat together in a circle. Rhea was there, so were other key fighters. Malik from the Mars group, Jonah from the Prison-Born Kids, and even an old engineer named Brigg who knew the building's power systems. Jace spoke quietly but firmly. It's time. He said the game's next week. The Dominion calls it the Grand Show. They'll bring in cameras from all over the galaxy. Billions will be watching. He paused, then said the words they had all been waiting for. That's when we strike. Everyone listened closely. We take control of the arena, he said. We override the broadcast systems. We show the galaxy what humans are capable of, and then we escape. Brigg leaned forward. The power grid runs through the southern tunnel. I can get you in. But it'll take a lot of force to override the control room, Lek grinned. That's why we've been training. Rhea nodded. And what about the ships? If we escape, we need a way off-world. Jace opened a small map. There's a transport hangar nearby. Guards will be thick. But if we create chaos, we'll have a chance. No one spoke for a moment. Then Jonah, the youngest of the group, raised her hand. I'll help lead the kids, she said. We're small, fast. We can move where others can't. Jace looked at her, proud. Good. Everyone has a part. He looked around the room, locking eyes with each person. This isn't just about freedom, he said. It's about showing them we're not slaves. We're human, and they'll never forget us after this. The next few days moved quickly. The fighters spread the plan in whispers. Training became more focused. Timing drills, map studies, silent hand signals. Everything had to be perfect. They prepared weapons, hidden blades, sharpened tools, even poison made from cleaning fluids. The engineer Brigg built small bombs using arena scrap. Rhea worked with old machines to hack into the Dominion's broadcast system. We'll give them a show they'll never forget, she said. And Jace, he prepared for war, the night before the grand show. Jace sat alone in his cell. He held a small, worn piece of cloth, the old Earth resistance patch. Faded, but still clear. He had kept it all these years. He remembered his family, his city, the sky before it burned. He remembered what it felt like to run, to hide, to lose. But now, he was done running. The next day, the arena was packed. Aliens from across the galaxy sat in the stands. Floating cameras recorded every moment. Music blasted, lights flashed, and in the center, human fighters stood ready, pretending to be just slaves. Just performers. Varna Sakor returned to the arena as a guest. She watched from the VIP box, her armor repaired. her pride not yet healed. She stared at Jace, her eyes cold. "He will die today," she whispered. But as the first fight began, something strange happened. The arena lights blinked, then blinked again. The cameras began to shake. The screen lit, and then the human signal took over. A face appeared across every screen in the galaxy. It was Jace standing tall, proud, free. He spoke in calm, clear words. "My name is Jace Rennick. I am human. I am not a slave. None of us are. You thought you could break us. You were wrong. Today we rise." And then the explosions began. The first explosion shook the walls of the arena. Dust fell from the ceilings. Screams rose from the crowd. The guards ran in confusion, their weapons half drawn. No one expected an attack, not here, not during the grand show. Jace Rennick stood, tall in the center of the arena, no longer a fighter in chains. He was a soldier again. The plan had started perfectly, Brig. The engineer had set small charges at the power core. The lights went out across the stadium for 5 seconds, just enough time to switch control of the broadcast. Rhea had hacked into the transmission system. Jace's face had appeared on every screen, and his message was heard across the galaxy. "We are not your slaves. We are your nightmare." Then chaos had exploded. The Unchained moved with speed and purpose. They spread out into teams, just as Jace had trained them. Team 1, led by Malik, attacked the armory. They took down 3 guards and grabbed shock rifles and stun batons. Team 2 went after the control room. Rhea was with them, directing fighters and cutting into systems. Doors were locked. Cameras were turned against the Jerichs. Team 3, Jace's team, was going to the hangar. That was the goal. Escape. But not everyone was running. Jace turned as a shadow dropped into the arena behind him. Varna Sakor. Her black armor glowed red with fury. Her blade was already in her hand. "You should have died last time," she said coldly. Jace didn't answer. Knives into a ready stance, knives in hand. The fight had come again. Around them, the arena burned. Fighters screamed. Guards fell. The sky above flashed with fire and metal, but in that moment, nothing else mattered. Only them. She moved first, fast and heavy. Her blade swung with strength, but Jace rolled under it and came up behind her. He struck at her side, but her armor blocked the hit. She spun, kicked him across the chest. He flew backward, hitting the ground hard, but he got up. She came again, slashed, dodge, counter. He was faster. She was stronger. Every move brought sparks, every blow echoed with rage. "You think you're a hero?" she shouted. "You are still a slave in your heart." "No," Jace said, breathing hard. "I'm free. That scares you, doesn't it?" She roared and charged. He sidestepped, slashed her knee again. A weak point, her leg buckled. He didn't stop. He jumped, struck her shoulder joint the same place he had hit during their last fight. Her armor sparked. She staggered but swung her blade wildly. Cutting across Jace's arm, he cried out and dropped one. Knife. Blood ran down his wrist, but he didn't fall. He grabbed the other knife with both hands, jumped high and drove it deep into the vent behind her neck just like before. She screamed. "This time." He didn't stop there. He kicked her backward, then tackled her to the ground. He pulled her helmet off and threw it aside. Their eyes met. "You lost," he said softly. Her voice trembled. "Finish it." Jace looked at her, then slowly stood up. "No," he said. "I'm not like you." He turned away. The hangar was chaos. Rhea's team had taken control of the door, but more Jerich's ships were landing. Soldiers poured in. Jace ran into the hangar, holding his bleeding arm. "We need to move now." A small transport ship was powering up. A leak waved from the ramp. "We've got space for 40. There are more than that," Rhea said. "Then we take the rest by foot," Jace replied. "Split up. Everyone gets out one way or another." Explosions shook the hangar floor. One of the Unchained screamed and fell. "We're out of time," someone shouted. Jace whipped back at the arena. Smoke filled the air. Fires climbed the walls. He looked at Rhea. R. You ready? She nodded. Always. Jace turned to the fighters. This is our chance. Go now. Go fast. And don't stop. The groups ran, some to the ship, some to the side tunnels, some into the smoke. Jace stayed until the last fighter was gone. Then he ran to outside. The sky was on fire. Dominion ships flew overhead. Sirens howled. Buildings burned. The arena behind them collapsed in flames. But through the smoke, humans ran free. For the first time in years. They weren't running in fear. They were running toward something better. Later, as the sun rose over the broken towers of Rack Prime, silence returned. The rebellion had ended for now. Many had escaped. Some had fallen, but the message had been sent. A human, once called a slave, had defeated a Jirex twice. He had burned their pride, broken their rules, and shown the stars what humans were truly made of, in a quiet part of the ruined city. Jace stood near a broken statue of an old Jirex warlord. He looked up at it, then at the sky. Beside him, Rhea stood holding a small device. What now? She asked. Jace smiled faintly. We find more of us. We build. We fight again, Rhea nodded. And the Dominion? He looked at her, firm. They'll remember this day for the rest of their lives. Far across the galaxy, screens still played the final message. We are not your tools. We are not your toys. We are human. And we are coming. Months had passed since the fall of the arena on Vrac Prime, the Jirax. Dominion was still powerful, but something had changed. For the first time in generations, fear had entered their hearts. Not fear of weapons or numbers, fear of humans. Across the stars, whispers of rebellion spread like wind through dry grass in the mining colonies of Velto 3. Humans refused to dig. On the prison ships near Jupiter, the guards were overpowered and locked inside their own cells. In the frozen labs of Sector 9, test subjects broke their chains and destroyed their captors. Everywhere.
One name was spoken. Jace Rennick. They
called him many things. The ghost of Earth, the knife in the dark, the flame of freedom to the Jirex. He was a problem. To the humans was a legend. But Jace himself had disappeared. No one knew where he went after the escape from Vrac Prime. Some said he had died. Others believed he had left the galaxy to build a new army. Only a few knew the truth. Far from the central systems, deep in a hidden asteroid base, Jace sat at a metal table with a small team. Around him were familiar faces, Rhea, Malik, Jonah, Brig, and several new leaders who had joined the movement. A large map of Dominion. Territory was shown on the screen. Red zones marked controlled space. Small green dots showed where rebellions had started. Each week, the green dots grew. Rhea pointed to the screen. 5 more cells reported success last week. That makes 9 good, Jace said. They're learning fast. It's Malek. Leaned forward. We need to hit something bigger, something they'll feel. Brig nodded. A factory, a supply route.
What?
No, Jace said, his voice calm. We go after the signal tower on Delta Prime. That's how they control their broadcast systems. Take that, and we show the galaxy the truth. The room went quiet. It was a bold move. It could also get them all killed. Jaona looked at Jace. You really think we can win this? Jace smiled faintly. I don't believe it, he said. I know it. While Jace and his team planned, Jirex leaders gathered in secret council. The High Commander slammed his fist on the table. Why haven't we caught him? General Rex replied. He doesn't move like us. He hides in systems we forgot. He uses old tech, human codes, and stolen ships. Then send hunters. Find him. We have, Vrex said. None have returned. Silence. Then the High Commander stood. If the humans want a war, we'll give them one. A few weeks later, the resistance team reached Delta Prime. The planet was cold and gray, with tall towers and heavy winds. The signal tower stood like a giant spike in the middle of a guarded base. Jace led a team of 10. They moved through the shadows, dressed in stolen armor. They didn't go in guns blazing. They went in smart. They disabled the power silently, cut the cameras, took down guards one by one. By the time alarms rang, it was too late. Rhea reached the control room and plugged in the old Earth transmitter. "Ready?" she shouted. Jace stood before the screen, just like he had done months ago. But this time, the message was longer. "This is Jace Rennick, calling all humans across the galaxy. We are not weak. We are not alone. We are rising. From the mines. From the cells. From the ashes of our past. This is not just a fight for Earth. This is a fight for every world where freedom is crushed. Join us. Find the others. Remember who you are. We are not slaves. We are not afraid. We are human, and we never stop fighting." The signal was sent to hundreds of planets. The Dominion tried to block it, but it was too late again. On dozens of worlds, people saw Jace's face and heard his words, and they believed as the Resistance team escaped Delta Prime. A Jarex warship followed them. A battle began in space. The Resistance had a small fleet. Fast ships, stolen weapons, smart pilots. The Jarex had numbers and power, but humans had something else. Unity. They worked as one. Every move planned. Every attack sharp. Jace led from the front, his ship flying like lightning through enemy fire. He shouted into the comms, "Target their engine cores. We break their speed. We break their line." Boom! One Jarex cruiser exploded, then another. Finally, the enemy ships pulled back. The humans had won in the days that followed. More systems began to rebel. Even non-human species who lived under Dominion rule began to rise. They had watched Jace. They had seen what humanity could do. And they wanted freedom too. A new alliance began to form. Humans, allies, former slaves, broken soldiers, all united under one flag. Years later, children across free worlds learned about a man named Jace Rennick. They studied the Arena Rebellion. They watched his broadcast from Delta Prime. They told stories about how he stood alone against an empire and never gave up. Some believed he was still alive. Some said he had become part of the stars, a ghost who appeared only when freedom was in danger. But the truth? Jace was out there, still leading in silence, still fighting in shadows, still reminding the galaxy of one simple truth. Humanity doesn't bow. Humanity rises.